September 14th, 1944. One number changes everything. 11,000%. Soviet ammunition production increased 11,000% since 1941. General Marshal Walter Model stares at a warehouse receipt in Warsaw. In 72 hours, this single document will force him to write Germany's death certificate. The math doesn't lie. Model's hands shake as he reads the inventory again. They're not running out. They're drowning Germany in steel. What Berlin doesn't know yet will kill the Reich. Model wasn't supposed to be here. After Normandy collapsed, Hitler sent him east to stabilize Army Group Center. What remained after Operation Bagration erased 28 divisions in 5 weeks. The Führer demanded miracles. Model had delivered them before. Rzhev, Kursk, the fireman who saved lost battles. Now he stands in a captured Soviet logistics depot, and every crate he opens reads like Germany's autopsy report. His intelligence officer, Oberst Heinrich von Kleist, aged 34, from Potsdam, approaches with a tally board. Herr General Feldmarschall, you need to see this. The depot holds enough 76mm shells to supply 12 tank corps for 6 months. 12 tank corps. Germany's entire eastern front fielded 8 panzer divisions total. This was one warehouse, one Polish city. Subscribe for more decisions that shattered empires, 2 videos a day, and the shells were dated July 1944, 6 weeks old. Model had captured Soviet dumps before. In 1941, they found rusted Maxim guns and Tsarist junk. Desperation stocks. This wasn't desperation. Model pulls open a crate personally. Inside, 76mm armor-piercing rounds, 1944 pattern. Intelligence said these penetrated Panther frontal armor at 800 meters. Impossible. Soviet metallurgy was primitive, the briefings claimed. He lifts one shell. The machining is flawless. Tolerance is tighter than some German production. Von Kleist watches his commander's face drain of color. How many depots like this exist, Model asks. Reconnaissance identified 17 between here and the Vistula, sir. We've captured 4. Model calculates instantly. 17 depots at this capacity equals... He stops. The number is too large, too final. They laughed in Berlin when Stalin promised Soviet production would surpass Germany's. Goebbels joked in newsreels. Asiatic incompetence, he called it. Model stares at 10,000 shells that prove otherwise. But ammunition was inventory. What broke Model was the message board. Every Soviet depot maintained status boards, delivery schedules, unit assignments, production quotas. Model finds it near the commander's office. Last entry, September 11th, 3 days ago. Next shipment, September 18th. Quantity 140% of current stock. Origin, Factory 183, Nizhny Tagil. 140%. They weren't sustaining production. They were accelerating. Model had studied Soviet industry since Barbarossa began. German intelligence in 1941 estimated Soviet tank production at 200 per month. Laughable, they said. The message board listed production from Factory 183 alone. 200 T-34 tanks in August 1944. One factory, 1 month. Germany's entire tank production across all factories, all models, all fronts in August 1944. 687 vehicles. Von Kleist sees Model frozen at the board. Sir, they're outbuilding us 6-1 from one factory. Model's voice is quiet. How many factories do they have now? 17 major tank facilities identified, sir. 43 aircraft plants. Stop. Model raises his hand. I understand. Then everything changed. In the depot commander's desk, Model finds a training manual dated January 1944. Chapter 7. Ammunition expenditure rates for sustained offensive operations. The manual calculates requirements, assuming unlimited supply, not rationing, not conservation, unlimited. Soviet logistics officers trained on the assumption that shells were infinite. German doctrine since late 1943, every shot counts. Artillery batteries limited to 12 rounds per gun per day. Tanks carrying 30% less ammunition to save weight. The Soviets' planned operations where running out wasn't even considered possible. Model thinks about the Panther, Germany's answer to the T-34. Superior armor, superior gun, superior optics. One Panther worth 3 T-34s in combat. Everyone knew it, but the Soviets produced 6 T-34s for every Panther Germany built. 3 Panthers encounter 18 T-34s. Panthers kill 9 before being overwhelmed. Germany loses 3 irreplaceable tanks. Soviets lose 9 replaceable ones and still have 9 left. The equation was simple and devastating. Model walks through the warehouse section by section. Rifle ammunition, crates stacked 12 feet high. Mortar shells, enough to supply a Corps assault. Anti-tank mines, more than Germany produced in all of 1943. A shipping manifest stops him cold. Delivered to 1st Belarusian Front, August 15th, September 1st, 1944. Total tonnage, 47,000 tons. Ammunition, 31,000 tons. 47,000 tons to one front in 2 weeks. Germany's entire logistics network for Army Group Center moved 22,000 tons in August. Total, all supplies. The Soviets outshipped Germany 2-1 just in ammunition. If these numbers are shocking you, smash that like button. Grid 5214, September 15th, EWO 8:20 hours. Model meets his Chief of Staff, General Lieutenant Hans Krebs, age 46, from Helmstedt. They spread captured Soviet documents across a table in a commandeered schoolhouse. Krebs watched the Wehrmacht advance 1,000 kilometers in 3 months in 1941, saw Moscow through binoculars in December, believed Soviet collapse was inevitable. He doesn't believe anymore. They've rebuilt everything we destroyed, Krebs says. The factories we bombed in 41, the rail lines we cut, all back and doubled. Model shows him production figures. Krebs studies them like a condemned man reading his sentence. Lend-lease deliveries, Krebs continues. Trucks, 400,000. Rail locomotives, 2,000. Petroleum, 2.7 million tons. Americans freed Soviet production capacity. They're not building trucks anymore, only tanks. The equation shifts again. American logistics feeding Soviet production, feeding an offensive Germany couldn't match. What are you going to tell Berlin? Krebs asks carefully. The truth. That's all I have left. Tell me in comments, could you make this call? Model's report reaches Berlin September 18th. 14 pages, dense, numerical. Devastating. The opening summary ends Hitler's Eastern Front illusions in 3 paragraphs. Soviet ammunition production exceeds German capacity 6-1 in artillery, 8-1 in small arms, 4-1 in armor-piercing munitions. This disparity increases monthly. Enemy logistics demonstrate no resource constraints. Sustained offensive operations of unlimited duration are feasible. All doctrine assuming enemy ammunition shortages is obsolete. Material infinity. Model reduced the strategic situation to 2 words. Soviets didn't conserve, Germany did. The war became math where one side had infinity and the other had -6 divisions monthly. Hitler's response arrives September 20th. Continue operations with fanatical resistance and innovative tactical solutions. No acknowledgement of findings, no strategic revision, just demands for miracles. Model shows the response to von Kleist. Innovative solutions against unlimited artillery. The Führer wants magic. He wants the war to be 1941 again, sir. The war isn't 1941, it's 1944, and we're the desperate ones now. But Model wasn't finished gathering evidence. September 22nd. German signals intelligence intercepts Soviet logistics communications. The messages aren't encrypted. Soviets know Germany can't stop them, even broadcasting plans openly. Oberst Wilhelm von Schramm, signals officer, age 39, from Dresden, brings transcripts personally. Soviet 47th Army logistics to forward ammunition points, transmitted clear, 11:40 hours yesterday. Model reads, increased daily allocation to 200 rounds per gun. Offensive operations require sustained fire superiority. Consumption rates are acceptable. 200 rounds per gun daily. Acceptable consumption. Models artillery, 12 rounds per gun per day. The Soviets authorized 16 times that. As acceptable wastage. Von Schramm has more. Second intercept, 1650 hours, responding to damaged ammunition crates. Discard damaged units. Replacement shipment arriving within 48 hours. Do not delay operations for materiel concerns. Model reads it 3 times. They're throwing away damaged ammunition. Not repairing, just discarding. Replacement tonnage, tracked by rail reconnaissance, arrived in 36 hours, sir. As promised. As promised. Soviet logistics wasn't aspirational. It was reliable. German logistics since Stalingrad, constant crisis, trains delayed, fuel shortages, every division commander begging for resources. The Red Army treated ammunition like air, infinite, renewable. Model calculates 200 rounds per gun daily across 8,000 artillery pieces on the Central Front equals 1.6 million shells per day. Germany's total artillery production for all fronts, 400,000 shells daily. Soviets fired 4 days of German production in 1 day, on one front, sustainably. Then came intelligence that shattered Model's understanding completely. September 25th, a captured Soviet logistics officer, Major Dmitry Volkov, age 31, from Sverdlovsk, is interrogated. Wounded near Praga, surprisingly cooperative, almost amused. The transcript crosses Model's desk at 2300 hours. How do you maintain these supply levels? Volkov laughs. Impossible for you. For us it's Tuesday. 40 trains from the Urals daily, just ammunition. 40. That exceeds total Soviet rail capacity in 1941. 1941? More laughter. We're not fighting in 1941. We built 12 new rail lines since then. American locomotives pull 70% more. The motherland learned from you Germans. War is logistics. We became very good students. But the resources. You lost Ukraine, the Donbass. How? Volkov interrupts. We didn't lose them. You took them temporarily. We built new ones, bigger, beyond your bombers' range. Now we're taking Ukraine back. We'll have both, original and replacement, you understand? You thought you were destroying Soviet industry. You just forced us to double it. Model reads this alone at midnight, exhausted, the kind of exhaustion from understanding impossible things. Soviets hadn't recovered from Barbarossa. They evolved because of it. German invasion triggered industrialization exceeding peacetime capacity. The war meant to destroy the USSR created a military-industrial complex dwarfing Germany's. Hit subscribe if this mathematics of defeat is blowing your mind. 2 videos daily on decisions that changed history. Model orders, comprehensive analysis of all captured logistics documents. 4 days of work. The final report, September 29th. The analysis identifies something terrifying. Soviet logistics planning for 1945. Captured documents include draft plans for the Vistula-Oder offensive. Preliminary not finalized, but ammunition allocation specified. Estimated consumption, 7 million artillery shells, 2 million mortar rounds, 400 million small arms cartridges. Duration, 23 days. Berlin to Oder River. 7 million artillery shells in 3 weeks for one operation. Germany's total artillery stockpile across all fronts, September 1944, 4.2 million shells. Soviets planned a single offensive consuming more ammunition than Germany possessed total. The planning documents treated this as routine, standard, expected. Oberst Werner von Tippelskirch, chief logistics officer, age 42, from Munich, summarizes, "They're not planning to defeat us tactically, sir. They're planning to bury us in steel. The fire density they're projecting creates destruction zones where survival is mathematically impossible." Mathematically impossible, Model repeats. Mathematics defeats courage now. A German division can hold through discipline and tactics, sir, but not through 200,000 incoming shells. That's not combat, that's industrial annihilation. Model thinks about soldiers in trenches, young men from Hamburg and Stuttgart, fighting with discipline, believing training mattered, and Soviet planning staff calculating exactly how many tons of explosive reduced defensive positions to craters, not war. Applied mathematics, Germany on the wrong side of the equation. October 3rd. Intelligence changes model's understanding one final time. Soviet radio intercept. Factory 112 reports quota fulfillment ahead of schedule. Excess production allocated to front reserves. Maintain output. Capacity expansion approved for November. Excess production, exceeding quotas and banking surplus, planning beyond current offensives, Germany scraping shells for next week, Soviets stockpiling for next year. Model writes his final assessment October 5th. Unlike previous reports, this one is brief. 3 pages. The conclusion, 2 sentences. Soviet material superiority is absolute and irreversible. Defensive operations can delay but cannot prevent Soviet advance to Berlin. Timeline, 6 to 8 months. Predicting Berlin's fall, in writing, 6 months early. The report goes to OKH, presumably to Hitler. Model never receives direct response. Instead, October 18th, he's transferred to Western Front, commanding Army Group B. Some call it promotion. Model knows it's exile. Final act before leaving Warsaw, he visits the depot again, fully restocked by Soviets who recaptured eastern suburbs. The warehouse that broke his understanding now feeds the offensive that will take Poland, Prussia, Berlin. Von Kleist accompanies him. They watch Soviet trucks load crates with industrial efficiency. They're not going to run out, are they, sir? No, Model says. Never. That's what Berlin won't understand. This isn't 1941 where we advance until they collapse. This is 1944 where they advance until we're gone. Every day they get stronger while we get weaker. Can anything stop them? Model thinks about numbers, production rates, logistics capacity, mathematics of material infinity versus exhaustion. Nothing stops them now. We taught them industrial war. They learned better than we did. Model leaves the Eastern Front knowing Germany already lost. Not in 6 months. Not when Berlin falls. The war ended when Soviet production exceeded German consumption. Everything after was counting down to inevitable defeat. The final accounting proved Model right with brutal precision. Soviet ammunition production 1944, 240 million artillery shells. German production, 39 million. 6 to 1, exactly as Model calculated from one Warsaw warehouse. Soviet tanks 1944, 29,000 vehicles. German, 8,300, 3.5 to 1. Most devastating, Soviet ammunition stockpiles January 1945 sustained maximum consumption for 14 months. Germany's stockpile, 6 weeks, 14 months versus 6 weeks, infinity versus exhaustion. The equation that killed the Reich. General Feldmarschall Walter Model never saw Berlin fall. April 21st, 1945, surrounded by Americans in the Ruhr pocket, he walked into a forest near Duisburg and shot himself. No note, no statement. Just a pistol and the memory of September 1944, staring at a warehouse of Soviet shells, understanding Germany had already lost. The Warsaw Ammunition Depot was still operating May 1945, still supplying Soviet forces, still proving material infinity defeats tactical brilliance. The crates Model examined in September 1944 were probably still there when the war ended, untouched, unnecessary, obsolete. Like German soldiers who died believing ammunition rationing was temporary, not permanent strategic reality. Model understood what Berlin refused. Wars are won by factories, not heroes. In 1944, the Soviet Union was the factory that never stopped. Germany was the army that ran out of bullets. Subscribe for more moments when numbers told truths generals feared to speak. 2 videos a day. Next video. The British codebreaker who realized D-Day was compromised 72 hours before landing.